So imagine you're scrolling online, right? And you come across this political activist, and their absolute biggest hero, like the person they admire most, is Sanna Marin.
Oh, the former prime minister of Finland.
Yeah, exactly. Young, highly progressive, very modern European social democracy. So you see that, and you'd probably instantly sketch out a mental profile of this person's politics. You'd think, okay, I know exactly where they stand.
Yeah, you'd assume they're pretty firmly on the progressive left.
Right. But then, on that exact same profile, you scroll down a bit, and you see them fiercely championing Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, wow.
Yeah? The hard-right, populist U.S. congresswoman. And it just makes you think, like, how does a single human brain hold both of those realities at the exact same time without just, completely short-circuiting?
I mean, it genuinely just, it defies basic political logic. You're looking at two figures who have completely incompatible worldviews. I mean, utterly divergent policies.
Polar opposites.
Exactly, polar opposite visions for society. So to see them celebrated by the exact same person, it really forces us to ask, what invisible thread could possibly be tying them together?
And that question we're exploring today. The analysis we're looking at uses this brilliant metaphor, basically treating political support like a dating app swipe. I mean, imagine looking at a politician's entire career, right? All their policies, all their rhetoric, and then literally boiling your support down to just one highly specific question. You swipe right if they pass your one test, and you swipe left if they don't. To understand how this actually plays out in the real world, we're going to dive into a very specific case study involving an Irish content creator and a highly controversial U.S. politician
channel, but one that constantly casts its gaze on international politics.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Epstein litmus test, the ultimate loyalty filter. That international gaze is exactly where the main angle of this source's analysis lands. Because amidst all these local and global issues, Logan has established an incredibly rigid requirement for judging public figures, which the analysis defines as the Epstein litmus test. Now, obviously, Epstein's actual crimes were universally horrific and abhorrent, but Logan uses the aftermath of those crimes as a strict political measure. In a recent video, he frames the demand for total transparency regarding the Epstein files, meaning the photos, the flight logs, the unredacted documents, as the ultimate absolute proof of whether a leader is protecting the elite or fighting for the people. Basically, if you aren't demanding the names, you are part of the cover-up, period.
Which brings us to the actual mechanics of his rulebook, and it's surprisingly simple. Step 1. Demand the unredacted files. Step 2. Name all names. Step 3. You get an automatic pass from Adrian Logan. And it really doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you are on. In fact, he even criticizes the Trump administration for backtracking on their promises of full transparency, for letting files disappear, and for calling parts of it a hoax. For Logan, accountability absolutely has to be across the board.
Which brings us to Section 3, the MTG exception, a perfect test case. So you might be wondering, who actually passes this strict test? Well, U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene passes it with flying colors. And why? Because she has been incredibly vocal about this specific issue. She stood with survivors, she's joined bipartisan efforts for transparency, and she famously declared right on the House floor that if given the list, she would read every damn name.
Because of that, for Logan, MTG gets the absolute green light. Her vocal stance against what she calls the deep state cover-up aligns perfectly with Logan's own anti-establishment views. By loudly speaking out against Epstein's network, she earns ultimate credibility points in his book. She swiped right on transparency, so Logan essentially swipes right on her.
Now let's look at Section 4,
SNL's reality check, the blind spot.
But here's where things get really complicated. What happens when a single-issue test completely ignores the rest of a highly controversial record? The analysis explores this by bringing up a famous Saturday Night Live segment from 2021 to highlight everything Logan's test completely ignores. When MTG faced massive public backlash for promoting conspiracy theories, specifically claiming the Parkland school shooting was a false flag, she offered a pretty casual apology, saying, "Nobody's perfect." Taking a comedic angle, SNL's Colin Jost totally roasted this, pointing out that nobody's perfect is something you say when you accidentally mess up a lunch order, not when you accuse kids of faking a mass shooting.
And in that exact same broadcast, SNL went after her broader rhetoric. The source notes how Cecily Strong played a parody character of MTG, wearing a shirt where the word science was deliberately misspelled. Strong delivered this incredibly childish, aggressive rhyme to satirize MTG's highly polarizing stance on gender roles.
The sketch also highlighted MTG's real-life defense of what she called catfights as a woman's job in Congress. It was a complete comedic takedown of her public persona.
So the analysis really points out the sheer extent of the record being ignored here. We are talking about theories concerning Jewish space lasers causing wildfires, election denialism, mocking science, aggressive culture war rhetoric, and just serial non-apologies for all of the above. The core argument the source makes is that Logan conveniently bypasses all of this ideology. Because she yelled every damn name regarding the Epstein files, the rest of this extensive, highly controversial record is just entirely wiped away in his eyes.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, the loyalty filter loophole, the paradox.
As you can see, this creates a massive paradox. On one side, you have the green light, the exact things MTG did right according to Logan's Epstein stance, like demanding names and standing with survivors. But then, right on the other side, you have what the analysis calls the bootlicker bypass. Because she passed that single test on the first issue, she gets a complete bypass for election denialism, space laser conspiracies, and insincere apologies on everything else. Ultimately, the source's thesis is that this isn't really a true litmus test for accountability at all. It is a cherry-picker test. It's just a convenient loyalty filter that allows an influencer to rubber stamp their preferred political figures based on one single issue, while completely shutting their eyes to absolutely everything else that contradicts their broader supposed values.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to consider. When a political influencer uses a selective litmus test like this, when they completely ignore a massive, controversial record just because a politician yelled the right catchphrase about one specific issue, what does that actually reveal about the tester? Does it tell us anything real about the politician's integrity, or does it simply expose the blind spots and biases of the person swiping right? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll catch you next time.